Voy a empezar a grabar. Ok. My mouse. Well, I think this is fine. I couldn't track my mouse, but now it's here. Okay. Hello everyone. I'm from Cefe's team, and I'm going to present you about DevOps. I was in a bootcamp about. It lasted 2 weeks. It was given by IT and this is what we learned. Some of the subjects I'm going to give them more quickly because we already have had some learning hours in the past. For example, with testing part with Kevin from the testers. Um, so yeah, I hope you learn a little bit about DevOps. So about the regions. Um, uh, there was a fight between developers and operations because developers like to code a lot and be developing too much, right? New features and a lot of new stuff. But operations, on the other side, they look for stability. Um, so we there was this fight between one and the others. To we needed a new way to found stability, but having quality, but at the same time being not being so slow. In some other slides, I'm going to show you how this was solved with tools um, and applications that DevOps use. Um, Also, DevOps is a very big uh, um, I mean, it's very broad. It can be a full stack DevOps, but you can, as you can see in the blue square, it have different areas in which you can specialize. Uh, for example, in the side of developers, you have uh, the cloud, or I mean the backend or the frontend, and something similar happens with DevOps. They can just be in the configuration management, which helps to configure and integrate tools in CI/CD pipeline, which means continuous integration and continuous uh, uh, the deployment, or well, I forgot the word, which um
Delivery.
uh, all right. Also, you can specialize on the environments or other areas. There are not only these three areas. There can be a mix of them. And the CICT, uh, in in here we use Bamboo. And in the bootcamp, we learned about GitHub Actions, which I'm going to show you. Um, Other important subject is monitoring. To give you again examples, like of developers against DevOps. Here in developers, we the most important thing for us is being developing new features, refactors, and that. But on the case of DevOps, they are monitoring that the builds didn't break, and if the developers want to add new feature to see that everything in the system will work well. Um, and here we have the life cycle of this. It's very similar to the life cycle of developers and DevOps, but with different um, focus. As I said, DevOps focus most on monitoring and looking for stability all the time. So we have here the continuous development, which is planning and coding. What we do with Scrum, the continuous testing to build and test. Then we pass to continuous deployment, which is the release and the deploys, and the monitoring part, which are the operating and monitoring, which we don't do here in CFS. Because that's the part of DevOps, and DevOps have come so complicated. And I told you that there was this fight between developers and DevOps because builds were too slow, and to make changes it could take a long time. So what we use in these tools is add security, and with the tools automating everything. We add this in, I will call it like in line, or I mean the builds are running automated, but they are waiting before one ends, and we I mean the DevOps don't need to be checking um, all the time. They wait until a notification, maybe an email, when if the builds passed or if they failed, or any of this process in between. A tool that is very used in DevOps is called Docker. The idea of this is we all lived that when we are developing a project, and it runs in our machine, but it doesn't work on another machine. Docker tries to avoid all of this, in which you don't need to do any of after downloading an image of Docker, you don't need to do any mm, um, I mean, you just need to run some commands, and you can run the app. And I'm going to show you an example at the end. But you don't care, I mean, if you have the dependencies, because the Docker file is going to take care of it with it's called Docker file, in which you have all the steps and all the configuration that you need, the dependencies. And something very important, it also uses Docker ignore, similar to git ignore. You try to avoid keys and uh, important things that are going to tell about your location, or information that should maintain confidential. Other thing very important are Unix commands. Um, I put in here some examples. CD to move, the cat to create, modify, and display. But I can say that in general, you can use the cheats to look at the commands and learn that everything is a file, even folders and everything. When you are talking about Unix, all this everything are files. About why testing is so important, of course, we need to validate that everything keeps working at expected, and being testing the long term are going to reduce the cost, is going to improve performance, and we are going to have less bugs that if we are not testing. Mm. And also, we have here the same mentality that when you create a test, it shouldn't pass at the first time. It's good to follow the TDD pattern. Um, and well, here I put all the types of testing, the manual in which you are uh, just uh, manipulating the app and searching for mistakes. The unit test, the most we use with TDD, because we are creating one test and then we are modifying the repo, right? The implementation. This is one test should do. I mean, one unit test should test only one thing. And this works for individual methods. Also, the integration tests. This one to check that everything is working all together. Uh, the database, microservices, everything uh, together. Something very similar are the functional tests, but this only cares about the output, and that's it. And I put an example right here. Uh, Integration. If you query, for example, a database, um, you in integration, you you check that the functionality is working well, but on the functional, you only care about the output that you're expecting to get. Uh, we also have the acceptances, performance, and the smoke tests that we use. Well, the smoke test we use here a lot in the team after each task. Um, Performance can be very broad, and you can be checking, for example, how the app behaviors with a lot of requests or with a lot of load. It's not a specific way to test performance, but yeah. Well, about cloud computing, another subject very related and that is needed in DevOps. Uh, what is cloud computing? It is, as we have here, the definition is software and hardware together uh, to deliver a service to a network. Um, and and any device with internet access and maybe credentials will have access to it. And also the regions are very important. Uh, for example, if uh, we want to connect to a server, is is better the closer it is from us. For example, servers from San Diego or from Europe, we will have better and more stable connection if they are closest. And all of the cloud computing services are used for a lot of things that are used for storage, for development, deploy, operate apps on the web, and also they are affordable because they are accordingly they're priced to the monthly usage. Uh, at least in the case of Google Cloud uh, um, services. And if I in here we use the Amazon Web Services in Insulet. They have both fast speeds, low latency, and very good network infrastructure. Um, they have also services for virtual machines, scalability, and I'm going to give a more detailed example here. And moreover, uh, as I was saying, we have services for cloud, for for databases and storage, for networking, for and even for things as big data and machine learning. One more important subject in this one in this topic, I had a hard time in the boot camp, uh, but we have these configuration management tools. Um, I can say that from one device you can control many machines, and all of them can be doing one process or other different processes, but you have a lot of control with other machines of what they are doing. Um, I put here some roles they can be doing. They can be running scripts, doing tasks, maybe testing, installing things. This is a very complex uh, topic. They also use something called pipelines. Um, in in the example we learned on the bootcamp is we used Git, um, well Ansible and GitHub Actions as the tools, um, which are different from the ones used in CFOs. I mean in Insulet, but still uh, the uh, the definitions and what they do in general are very similar. So that's why I put in here. Uh, these tools to automate processes help to compile, test, build, and deploy. And they are very useful for the continuous, as I told you, CI/CD that we use in Bamboo. Uh, Continuous integration, delivery, testing, deployment, monitoring, and operations. Uh, the requirements here in with GitHub Actions are to have an account, one repo, create and manage repo branch. You have to commit code changes, of course, and then work with pull requests. YAML files are used, which are configuration files. And also the scripting is very used. I can give you one example here in Bamboo. For example, when we push to a specific branch that is on develop, then it automatically create a test flight. I'm pretty sure all of that I don't put an screenshot, but I can tell you that that is automated, and that's an specific example. And these workflows help to automate, and you are just waiting as to check if everything is okay, or we need to fix something or revert some changes. Um, Again, I'm going to talk about in the case of GitHub Actions, but I try to put it more general so it can apply to our learnings in here in Cepheios. Well, we define events as I was telling you. For example, when you push some changes or create a pull request, and we had the 3 approvals or whatever are needed, and after we merge those changes, we need to automate the that test runs on Bamboo. And not only that, there can be other workflows, because in these workflows we can run operating system commands, um, and they have of course limitations depending on the plan, how many hours, how many actions. So I try to summarize the weeks of DevOps, and there's a lot to learn. We have the development concepts, right? But uh, you also need to learn about monitoring. I mean, um, the infrastructure as a code, which are the configuration management apps, about cloud providers, the containers as Docker, and to orchestrate them with something like Ansible, um, and networking. All the rest, I'm pretty sure we got it here. Uh, Running command line and scripting, we got it. But if you want to learn more about this career path on DevOps, now you know what you need to learn. And I'm going to show you one quick example. Here I have the repo of IT Juana and our project. I'm going to share with you in the chat. Um, I already downloaded all of this. Here I only have my project. I deleted the rest, but um, of course I first forked into my personal GitHub. Um, I'm focusing on the capstone project, following the all the instructions we created. Let me open it. Oh, it's empty now. As I told you, we are not focusing on developing. We downloaded a project that was in Node JavaScript, Node.js, and the world. We created a Docker file. This is the one we put the which in which we are going to run it. For example, Ubuntu, um, which version of Node. We had to put a work directory. We use the copy command to copy all the project and what everything we need to install in our machine to can run the project. Well, this happens in in another environment, and well, I already we created this Docker file, and after running some commands, uh, which are Docker compose up, we got these Docker images, right? We got the images and then we build to can run it. And if I run it, now I can open in my local host. And this is the project. So what I mean is that anyone can download this project, and running those commands with Docker can make this work, and you don't have to care about having an IDE or everything installed, because this helps you with that. And about the GitHub actions that I was explaining you, with the help of GitHub, there was a template for running these actions when there was a push or pull request. It runs all the tests that it needs to check. This is the work file. And all of this is a template that already GitHub has, but the point is that I only made some changes for some names, but this helps you to be checking if the test runs or if something failed. As you can see, at the beginning, I was having a hard time with this until I made it run. And one last thing to add is that these actions, all the jobs by default run in at the same time in parallel, but you can add this, which needs before running this job, it needs to be completed, the job 1 and 2. But I think that that was a fast summary of 2 weeks of DevOps. I don't know if there are any questions or anything to add. If not, I think that that's it. I would like to show you about the Ansible part, but I couldn't make it work. So I just showed you the theory about it.